Hey everyone, it's Neon Polygons, and today I want to do a quick follow-up video to my Microsoft Windows phone. In a previous video, I discussed that I had in my possession a Nokia Lumia 830, which is a Microsoft phone. Originally, the device was running Windows 8.1, and I wanted to update it to Windows 10 prior to Doomsday, which was December 10, 2019, so 2 days ago, according to the state. Which is when Microsoft would stop support for Windows 10, which would subsequently mean that I would not be able to upgrade to Windows 10 over the internet. The issue was that I was having problems trying to actually update to the latest 8.1 patch on this phone, which would allow me to update to Windows 10. So I was getting this recurring error saying that there was an issue with my internet connection, which there wasn't. I tried multiple Wi-Fi's, did multiple factory resets, and no matter what I tried, every time I tried to get to 60% or 60, 70-ish percent downloading the 8.1 or 8.2 patch, it would just essentially time out and show me this error message. And I was kind of like out of luck. I had no idea what else to do. And thanks to a fellow YouTuber, I found out that all I needed to do was use Microsoft Windows Recovery Tool to essentially manually factory reset the phone and download the 8.2 patch directly from the Microsoft servers onto the phone via a wired connection. Unfortunately, I actually don't have a PC, and so I actually had to find someone and ask a friend if I could use their PC, download the recovery tool on their computer, and subsequently attach this device to the recovery tool and download the patch through that means. Which was actually still not a straightforward process. I actually received a number of errors trying to find the software update through the recovery tool, which if you watch a lot of videos on YouTube, it's usually fairly straightforward, but for whatever reason, there seem to be a lot of issues recovering the Windows 8.2 patch on the servers for this phone. But luckily, after numerous attempts, I was able to find it on the server and able to download it directly. And after that, I was able to finally upgrade to Windows 10 using the Upgrade Advisor and download Windows 10 over Wi-Fi, which thankfully I now have the latest OS prior to Doomsday on this device. Now, unfortunately for me, how can I best phrase this? There's not a lot you can still do with Windows 10. The biggest difference, I guess, from 8.1 was that there's a number of apps that are supported on 10, which have ceased support on 8.1. Most notable, Netflix and Spotify. So what's kind of the big reason that I wanted to upgrade? Well, one was, so I can essentially just have the latest security on this phone before just Doomsday happened. And second reason was all the apps that were still fully functional on this phone, I want to, or are still fully functional on a Microsoft phone, I wanted to get them in a usable format because 8.1, they were no longer being supported. And the most important reason for me to get on Windows 10 was the fact that I could be on Edge. 8.1 was still running on Microsoft Internet Explorer, which was kind of clunky, and to be honest, it was already behind the times of the internet. There were a lot of web pages that, while they would render on the phone, a lot of kind of like touch or mobile interactivity with the browser and these websites were just not working. Kind of a notable example would be Yahoo, that a lot of carousels just would not slide with the glide of my finger. And I think that was just primarily because Windows Internet Explorer for Windows 8.1 just wasn't updated since 2015. So a lot of changes in mobile development for websites. A lot has changed in the past 4 years, and thus Microsoft Edge is at least on this phone, it's the most recent, at least to kind of handled, I guess, the majority of websites that are still out there. So how does it handle on Microsoft 10? The phone handles still pretty well. Like as I kind of go to YouTube videos, just like click on this one really random. Um, it plays 1080 and 4K fairly well, as long as it's on a strong Wi-Fi connection. So
how do you learn a subject or skill in half the time? Let's do this together. I want you to right now think of a subject or skill that you just want to learn.
Turn on the phone. Sorry about that. Skip this ad.
Why would I betray you? We all have our secrets. We just didn't get to yours yet.
And full screen. This phone looks great. Video looks great on this phone, I have to admit. So websites like YouTube do just great on it. Let me see if I can open Netflix without having to log in. Come on. Hopefully my login information is saved. Now, if there is kind of one drawback this phone has, is that there is quite a bit of load time, unfortunately. I guess the phone is, again, 5 years old at this point. So when you do try to open up a lot of apps, they do tend to be slow. Now, odd thing though is a lot of the apps that I guess when I had 8.1 and a lot of the native apps, they still also had quite a bit of time before they actually booted up. So I'm not quite sure if it's just like apps that are, I'm not sure if the reason for, I guess, the boot up or long boot up time is actually because the apps have, they take up more memory or more processing power. I actually just think it's the phone's capabilities that it just generally just takes a minute for them to kind of get these apps running. But when they do run, they run fairly well. So as I'm running Netflix here, it does, does just great, loads fairly quick. So come on, at the 97%. So right here, I'm just gonna watch a quick clip from The Matrix on the phone just to show you how it looks. And yeah, I guess it is kind of taking a minute. Let's see how.
This day forth.
There you go.
Or you choose to find yourself another job. Do I make myself clear? Yes, Mr. Reinhardt, perfectly clear.
So it looks great. So the screen looks great on here. Video plays fairly well in nice 1080p. So, let's get off that. Now, there are some issues since I've upgraded to Windows 10. Some of the native apps just no longer work. So for example, I'll go to Finance and I'll get this nice sad message that it's no longer supported. Here's another weird issue. When I try to go, for example, to Weather, it does something quite weird. It tries to bring me to the Microsoft Store. And, sorry, reset that. And let's see, is there another one? Let's try to open it up again. It just doesn't do anything. It just brings me straight to the Microsoft Store. And the app is already on this phone. You'll see it says install. Okay. And I'm going to wait for a little bit to load back. And it should say launch. When I click launch, it brings me right back here. So it's quite a bit of a bug. I don't really know what to say. Now, unfortunately, some of the stuff that people really love about this phone, which is the Lumia camera. I'll just show you what happens when I put that up. Fortunately, it no longer works. So, which was kind of, a bummer because that's what people really loved about this phone. They really loved that the Lumia apps are just fantastic. So let me see if like any of the other ones work. Let me see if Lumia Cinemagraph works. Okay, so far so good. Okay, sure. Please work. Yes. Okay, so at least Lumia Cinemagraph still works. Okay. See, as you can tell, quite a bit of load time before something was shaking. Okay. Anyways, get out of that app. Let's see, what else do we got here? Let's see, Lumia Creative Studio. Okay, still good. So let's see other apps that I got. Let's try Lyft. on a Microsoft 10 phone. Come on, let's see what happens. You can see it's loading up. Okay, so at least Lyft is still working on that. I do know that if I went to news, let's try news. Where is that? Some weird issues here as well. Brings me back to the Microsoft Store, even though the app is already on this phone. So that's kind of an issue since I've upgraded. But oddly enough, sports still works. So not quite sure what the difference is that all of a sudden the other apps don't work. But when I had 8.1, all those native apps still kind of worked to a degree, that they were still pulling in new data. Skype still works fine on here. Spotify still works fine. And I guess one of the reasons to have this phone is if you're a big Xbox collector or kind of like an Xbox aficionado, this was kind of the purest integration between Xbox One and a mobile device. It was having a Microsoft phone. So I'm a big gamer, as some of you know. So even though I won't be using this phone, I will be keeping it because you never know when someone might discover some kind of quirk where having a Microsoft phone can do something with Xbox One that we just never knew about. So for those of you out there who are, I guess, kind of trying to find some functionality in your Xbox One that, people will discover later, my big suggestion for you guys is try to find a Microsoft phone. Probably try to look up one of the higher end Lumia phones. And I guarantee you, 10 years from now, someone's going to discover some odd quirk that there is a means of communication between the phones and an Xbox One that we just never knew about. Other things that are just really great since upgrading to Windows 10 is email works great on this. The Microsoft, I guess, Office apps should work fairly well. Let me actually open up Microsoft Word on this, see how that handles up. And wow, works great. Well, so far. Yeah. So this is pretty cool, I guess, to say that you can actually work on Microsoft Office on this phone still really well. So PowerPoint, Excel, Word. So really the core three for doing work. Now, as I said, I don't intend on using this phone as my main phone. Obviously, I'm filming this on an iPhone 11 Pro, so there's no way I'd be going back to this. But it is a good secondary, I would say even like third option phone that I have for a lot of the digital content and client management that I do on the side. So I love having this phone. It's unfortunate for me that I kind of just discovered that I just discovered it in my possession only recently, and it's brand new. The battery lasts really great on it. But I'm going to use this phone for as long as I can, for as long as it's secure and safe. And it's just a bummer that, as I best put it, that this phone has reached its end of life in terms of support. To me, it's a cool phone, and I can't wait to see how it holds up in the next year. Anyways, guys, any of you out there still with a Microsoft phone, let me know what you think of it and your experiences having one. Thanks.